So, you're thinking about moving to Florida's Emerald Coast, but let's be real. Finding the right town can completely make or break your experience. Maybe you want to be close to the sugar white sands, or maybe you want to completely avoid spring break altogether. In today's video, we're going to go over the top 10 places to live here on the Emerald Coast, and there's one on this list that nobody talks about that might be perfect for you. In all fairness, this is not the top 10 ranking that I would have chosen, nor would I have put it in this order, although a lot of the towns on this list I would have definitely had in here. But I did use AI, made sure to prompt it pretty good to make sure that it understood all of the areas, including some of the smaller pocketed areas that we might not talk about that much or that you might not even know about. So this is AI's unbiased opinion, my unbiased opinion, and let's go ahead and run through the top 10 towns here on the Emerald Coast. So throughout this entire video, I'm going to be placing some things up on the screen, just some basics about each of the areas that we are talking about. And we're going to be covering larger towns near Destin. Heck, Destin's even going to be on this list. Little spoiler alert there for you. And we're also going to be covering some really small towns that you might not have heard of or you've heard of, but maybe you haven't seen before. And for context, this is all within 1 hour of Destin. So that's why you're not going to see Pensacola or Panama City Beach on this list. Now, there were 6 things that I added to the prompt that I wanted to make sure we were running through as a filter, and those 6 are affordability, lifestyle, family friendliness, community, safety, and unique features. So before we get started, comment down below which one you think should fall in the number 1 slot. Let's get into it. Number 10 on our list is a household name here on the Emerald Coast, and it's Navar, Florida. The entire vibe of Navar is quiet, peaceful, and almost like an undiscovered gem. There's a reason why the sign in Navar used to say Florida's best kept secret. Now, that did change about a year and a half ago, something like that, but it still feels like that. If you're looking for more of a quiet, peaceful vibe, then this is a great spot for you. And as you can see right here, the cost of living or the household pricing in general isn't all that terrible. Now, I know $400,000, depending on where you're coming from in the country, could sound like an extremely high number, or it could sound very reasonable. And at just $417,000 on the median sold price here in 2025, it makes Navar very affordable and very enticing too. What's really great about Navar is Navar has a little bit of everything. So no matter what you're really looking for, that type of property exists, whether it's single family homes in a suburban field style HOA neighborhood like Holly by the Sea, for instance, which is probably one of the larger HOAs we have here. And at just a little over $500 per year, it's not going to break the bank while still keeping all of the amenities up and stable. And the amenities at Holly by the Sea are great. And the community center here at Holly by the Sea has a ton of different things, from RV parking to places to launch your boat, to a pool, to a gym, etc. So it's got that suburban style feel. It's also got kind of a feel like you're a little bit out in the middle of nowhere. You'll still see neighbors, but if you're looking for large plots of land, East Navar, it has a lot of really good areas here. In fact, as you're driving through some of the towns here, you'll see, horse stables and things like that, and people have a little bit of acreage to move around. Now, you're not going to have 30 acres to yourself by any means, but you are going to feel a little bit further away from everybody. So if that's the feel you're looking for, Navar's got you covered too. And then, of course, if you're looking to be on the water, we've got high rises right there on the water, great condos with great views, and that way you can be right there on the island. You can go head on over to Juana's Pagodas and grab a drink and watch the sunset and listen to some live music and just all of the great things that Navarre Beach has to offer. The community in Navarre is very diverse, but there are 3 groups of people that I see quite often in Navarre. Number 1 is military, and that's because it's right next to Hurlburt Field and a quick jaunt over to Eglin Air Force Base. Then you've got small businesses and retirees. One thing ChatGPT didn't put in this list that I think they should have is younger families. And I think that's sort of mixed in with the military families, because when I'm thinking of it, like, they are kind of one and the same. But that is definitely a part of the community as well. As far as amenities here in Navarre, you've got absolutely everything you can think of when it comes to shopping and grocery and dining. As far as like the basics, right? If you're looking for something super nuanced, well, that's just not the Emerald Coast in general, with a few exceptions. But lots and lots of parks. In fact, the Navarre Beach Pier Park or Visitors Center Park is outstanding. We did a video on it years ago, right after a hurricane, and it wasn't super great. We need to go back out there and redo that, but it's got a splash pad. It's got a great little park area with like this soft foam stuff on it. I don't have kids myself, but every single time I drive by, there are families there really enjoying it. And of course, you've got some nature trails here and there, and the school system there is rated fairly high. Now, this wasn't something I was saying 3 or 4 years ago. It definitely feels like over the last couple of years, Navarre's really stepped up its game when it comes to the public school system. So why did Navarre make the top 10, but it's so high on the list? Well, I think Navarre's top 10 because although it is peaceful and quiet, it is a little bit isolated with that drive time into Destin and the same or very similar drive time into Pensacola. It does take you a little bit of time to get to all the action if that's what you're looking for. Number 9 on the list is my alma mater, Fort Walton Beach. When I first moved here in 2005, 2006, this is where I eventually purchased my first home at, and I think it's a great town all in all. But let's go ahead and talk about why it made our list and why it's number 9. First off, as you can see up on the screen, the median house price is pretty solid at $340,000 for 2025 so far. Makes it very enticing, especially if you're looking for a good entry-level home and you still want to be near all the action. And of course, being under 20 minutes to Destin is very enticing to people that want to go see that lifestyle, but want to be able to escape back home whenever they want. So I do want to preface this, all of these times that you're seeing here to my left here, when it comes to the drive times, that's from center to center, and that was using Google. So center of Fort Walton Beach to center of Destin. So you're in the southeastern portion of Fort Walton and you're trying to get to the Emerald Grand, which is like right when you go into Destin. The drive time is going to be a lot shorter, like 11 or 12 minutes. So just keep that in mind as we're giving you the time frame for driving from town to town. And of course, out of all of the ones on our list, I believe this is the one with the lowest medium household income, just a little over $66,000. We put that on here so that you can kind of gauge based on what you're currently earning on which towns might fit the lifestyle and vibe that you were looking for. Not that you ever need to just stay within your, average household income or anything, but it does help you figure out like, hey, I can probably survive there. I'm making $70K a year. The average is 66. I'll be good to go. So what is the vibe here in Fort Walton Beach? Well, first and foremost, it's a little bit older than all of the other towns that we're going to be talking about today. Every single one on this list. This is the one with the older style homes that you're going to see, and the town overall feels a little bit older. We'll call it historic to make it sound a little bit better than old. But you are going to have a very good mix of history as well as tourism. So it's going to be nothing like the tourism that you see in Destin or even Navarre, but you are definitely going to get it out here, especially if you're close to Okaloosa Island, which is just a matter of miles away from Destin. And a lot of people go there when they're renting their Airbnbs and VRBOs for spring break and during summer break, so that they don't have to pay the high prices of Destin, but there's still a short Uber ride away. And on top of that, the beaches are far less crowded here in Fort Walton Beach, so I think that's a pretty good bonus. One of the big benefits of Fort Walton Beach for you military folks that might be moving out here is the proximity of both of the major bases. So Eglin Air Force Base and Hurlburt Field, they actually share a runway together, so they're kind of attached, but not really attached at the same time. Either way, if you're located at either one of these, this is going to be the fastest way to get into base just about anywhere. Technically, if you live in Valparaiso over on the Niceville side of Eglin, that is a little bit quicker to get to Eglin. But for the most part, this is a centrally located area. In fact, it's the reason why I chose Fort Walton Beach. At the time, I was stationed at Eglin Air Force Base, but they were moving my aircraft over to Hurlburt Field, which is where it should have been the whole time because we were an AFSOC unit. Doesn't matter. Point is, that's why I chose Fort Walton, because I was transitioning from Eglin to Hurlburt, and I was like, I don't like driving. I was driving an old 85, step-side Chevy pickup truck with no air conditioning at the time, as you can imagine. Not fun to drive in the summers here, so I wanted to be as quick to my office as possible. So the neighborhoods here in Fort Walton Beach, as I mentioned before, are going to feel a little bit older. Not all of them, but you can find 50s and 60s style homes here in Fort Walton Beach that you might not find as many in Navarre or any of the other cities on our list. That being said, we do have new construction out here, and we do have condos that are much more updated as well. So you've got kind of a broad spectrum of really anything you're looking for. About the only thing we don't have here in Fort Walton Beach is Gulf-front homes. We have Gulf-front condos, but we don't have any on the Gulf that are single-family homes. We do have homes on the Sound, which is the area of water between the barrier island and the mainland. But that's not the same. You don't get the same waves. You don't get the same, crystal white beach. You might get a little bit of it, but it's not going to be as pronounced as it is on the Gulf in general. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a waterfront single-family home. Fort Walton Beach isn't your place. One of the best things about Fort Walton Beach, in my opinion, is the downtown area. They've done this very well. And even though right now we're going through a bit of a rehab on it because some of the bigger names like Casey's, I forgot what the other two that names, I think it was all by the same owner. They've all shut down. They're renting them out right now. They're trying to rent them out. So hopefully somebody will come in soon and really make this area really nice because it was sort of the center hub of downtown. But outside of that, you've got the Landing, which is a nice little park area. They do these great events. In fact, I'm going there next week for a craftathon event, I think it is. Brew, different types of brews and stuff like that. But they host a lot of events out there. But then the entire downtown area is just, it's alive, it's well, it's doing very good. We've got some good new spots like Soundside, one of my buddy's bars out there right on the water. Beautiful, beautiful views. Their bartenders are pretty good too. On top of that, you've got lots of great restaurants in the downtown area. In fact, we got a lot of great restaurants in Fort Walton Beach in general. I'm definitely a little bit biased because that's where my office is, but I like the food out here, especially in the downtown area. You've got Alley's, Bistro, and several other great options also. And of course, downtown is great for nightlife. So whether you're a younger military guy looking to go out and have a couple of beers in a similar environment that you're used to at the Salty Duck with a bunch of other military style folks, because it is very heavy there. I love it there. Salty Duck's great. You want to go across the street and go visit some of the other things and, maybe have a drink with a beautiful view. You've got that option also. When it comes to cost of living, Fort Walton Beach can't really be beat. I mean, outside of going further north like Crestview, Funiac Springs, maybe even Freeport, the cost of living in Fort Walton is outstanding. And most of that is driven by what you're seeing right here on the left side. It's the housing prices. Almost everything else in our area is going to be the same. That's why we don't do as many of those cost of living videos, which we do, by the way. So if you're ever curious about that, we've actually got one that we did not too long ago where we compared 2024 to 2025 and give you some realistic pricings on some things. We'll put that up here in the annotations up top. By the way, if you haven't subscribed already, these are the kind of videos we do, and we also go out and show a ton of it. I'm just not out and about today because it's a little bit gloomy and, it's not great for the video. But bottom line is cost of living. It's definitely one of the more affordable places and far more affordable than Destin or 30A. Now, Fort Walton Beach does come with its own set of challenges, and the number one challenge right now for Fort Walton Beach is the infrastructure. Right now, we're rebuilding a bridge, the Brooks Bridge that goes from Fort Walton, Maine, or Fort Walton Common, if you will, into Okaloosa Island, which is still a subset of Fort Walton Beach. A lot of people think it's a subset of Destin. It's not really. But that bridge that's going across there, they're building a new one. It's got a little bit of a different route, and so there's just a lot of construction going on there. Top of the fact that area already gets a little bit congested anyway because you've got all of the traffic from Okaloosa Island coming out onto the main road as you're trying to go over that bridge. Just gets a little bit backed up there in the downtown area. But once that bridge is done, hopefully that'll help alleviate some of it, although I don't think it's going to alleviate all of it. I think there's just going to be a problem with infrastructure in that general area because they didn't widen any of the roads because, quite frankly, they can't. So why did Fort Walton Beach get ranked number 9 out of 10? Well, it's accessible with the culture, but it can feel a little bit busy. With the extra traffic going on in the downtown area, kind of makes you feel like you're in a tourist area without actually being in a heavy tourist area. Number 8 on our list is Santa Rosa Beach. Actually, to be more specific, it's North Santa Rosa Beach because for those of you who don't know the area, the 30A area technically falls in Santa Rosa Beach. But I separated that for purposes of this video so that we can get down into the nitty-gritty when it comes to the best places on the Emerald Coast to live. So we're going to pop up the median home price, population, things like that right here on my left side. I do want to say one thing. This median home price seems artificially low to me. When I was looking at 2024, it was about $100,000 higher. So I actually think it was a little bit skewed at this $445,000 mark, although you can definitely find properties in the 400s very easily. You've seen a ton of them on our channel, even new construction in that price point. I definitely think that it's a little bit higher than that, but just for whatever reason, it wasn't showing it on our MLS stats. So I'm just going to preface that it might be closer to 500. You can see the median household income there creeps up over $100,000, and that makes sense depending on where you want to live at in Santa Rosa. Now, let's talk about Santa Rosa in general. First off, let's talk about the vibe because that's the most important. It's kind of a upscale vibe meets beachy chic, if you will. It's a lot of big words I generally wouldn't use in a sentence, But that is exactly what Santa Rosa Beach feels like. One of the great benefits of North Santa Rosa Beach in general is its proximity to 30A. 30A is great. It's a nice little area with a ton of beach towns. We actually have several of those beach towns on our list coming up, so don't miss that. One of them will really surprise you. But you've got access to that 30A area in general, so you can go and make a day out of each one of these towns, these little beachy towns that they've got, and just really get engulfed in the culture. For those that don't know, 30A is trendy. It's very walkable. There's tons of like boutique shops and restaurants. And the coolest thing, in my opinion, about 30A is there's no name brands. There's not anything that you have that's like, there's no Walmart down there. There's no Sam's Club or Costco or Trader Joe's. Any of that you're going to have to go into Destin for. Well, Costco and Trader Joe's, you can't go to Destin for. I don't even know where you can get those. But if you wanted things like Whole Foods or there's another supermarket thing that's out here that's really popular, you got to go into Destin for that. 30A is going to be all unique stuff, and I think that's really cool and part of the overall benefit of being near 30A. The housing in Santa Rosa Beach is going to have a little bit of everything as well. Although because we're focusing on North Santa Rosa Beach, you're not going to have any beachfront properties because we're kind of separating North Santa Rosa and 30A for this video. But if you're looking for a cottage or even a high-end home, got you both right here in Santa Rosa Beach. And if you're looking to invest a little bit, Santa Rosa Beach is not a bad place to invest either. Of course, one of the best benefits of Santa Rosa Beach in general is its access to outdoor activities. Not only can you go straight down into 30A and get on the water and do all the beach stuff as well, you've got walking trails, jogging trails, biking trails. You've got places to drop a kayak in the water. You've got these really cool lakes that are very unique to our area. There's just a lot of different things you can do when it comes to outdoor activities here. Of course, when it comes to outdoor activities, that's any town along the Emerald Coast, but I think North Santa Rosa Beach does it pretty well. There are literally a ton of different like paths and walking paths and state parks and things like that that you can go enjoy. Another big bonus for those of you that are interested in good rated schools, well, Santa Rosa Beach has pretty well rated schools as well. There's not really a town in our area that has low-rated schools. We're very fortunate in that. I'm not 100% sure how that happened or why that happened, but if you go on and look at greatschools.org or .com, I can't remember which one it is, or any of the other school rating systems, they generally rate pretty well. And in general, Florida rates pretty well, so that kind of makes me feel pretty good about the overall school system in general. But Santa Rosa Beach is particularly high on their marks. So who's the ideal person to be living out in Santa Rosa Beach? If I had to narrow it down into 3 categories, they'd be as follows: young families, remote workers, and creatives, at least according to AI. Why did Santa Rosa Beach land number 8 on our list? Well, that's because it's a very desirable area, so it made the list. But the reason it's not lower on the list is rising prices and tourism seems to be creeping over into that area. Number 7 on our list is Niceville, and it's a nice place to live. As you can see here, the median home price is still pretty strong in Niceville, which always catches people off guard because it's not a coastal town. It's actually a little bit north. It's right on the bay, but that's not the same as being right on the Gulf. So why are prices so high? Let's get into it. First off, the overall vibe here in Niceville is suburban, a safe-feeling environment, and very family-oriented. Whenever I've got a family coming in town and we're doing a buyer consultation with them, which is the process that we start to kind of help figure out where you guys want to be and really narrow down neighborhoods and see if one of our off-market properties will match what you're looking for. If you want to do one of those, all of our information will pop up on the screen. Give us a call. So whenever we're doing one of these consultations with a buyer, and one of the things that they keep harping on is they want an area where their kids can ride the bikes up and down the streets. You can do that in almost every town here, but Niceville definitely feels like more of it is happening. In fact, if you go into the heart of Niceville, let's say Blue Water Bay, which is one of the big HOA areas there, you'll see people walking and jogging, kids riding their bikes, and it's pretty common. In fact, it's actually uncommon for you to drive down any of the roads and not see something like that happen. So that's why it's very heavy on our list when it comes to young families. Another thing that's important for young families is the school system, and Niceville has consistently been rated very, very, very high with their school system, particularly their high school. Their high school is especially good if you've got kids that are into extracurriculars, whether it's football, cheerleading, chess club. It doesn't matter what it is. They've got a ton of extracurriculars and they do it right. They're, at least last time I was paying attention to it, which it has been a few years, their high school team was bar none like one of the better ones in the area. On top of that, the Niceville schools rank very well with mathematics, academics in general, reading, and all of the other categories. In fact, for years and years and years, when somebody said, I want the area with the best rated schools, I generally have to tell them, because I'm a licensed real estate professional, I have to say, go look it up online. I'm not really allowed to have that conversation with you, but I can give you an idea. And if that's where they want to go for great schools, that was always the best area. Now Navar and Santa Rosa Beach are creeping up on their heels, so I'm interested to see how that looks in the next couple of years. As far as employment here in Niceville, what you're going to see primarily is government workers of one way or another, whether it's military members working out of Eglin Air Force Base, or whether it's contractors that are also working kind of for Eglin Air Force Base for one of the contract firms out there. Then, of course, you've got local businesses, and remote work seem to also be pretty popular. Niceville's community is probably where it's at in general. As you're noticing, everything that I'm talking about is kind of all wrapped up in community in general. But they also have a lot of community events, including parades, and of course their sports scene, as I mentioned before with their high school, is pretty big as well. But community is the name of the game when it comes to Niceville. So if you're looking for a spot that you're going to have that really good sense of community, this is a good spot to look into. So why is Niceville number 7 on our list and not a little bit lower? Well, it's great for families, but it is a little bit limited in nightlife as well as tourism appeal, which could be a good or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. Number 6 on our list is Miramar Beach. We're going to throw up the medium home sold price right here, and it's going to shock a lot of you guys. Miramar Beach is a little bit more pricey, but you're paying for what you're getting out there. And Miramar Beach / Sandestin, it's all kind of like grouped into one in my eyes. You're getting a lot for that money, but is it worth it? Let's talk about it. It surprises me the median household income is $97,000 here. I would think it would be a little bit higher with that price point, and this came up a couple of different times, and I did so many Google searches and used AI to try to figure out like which one was most accurate. So if you see something that looks a little bit off, that's why. I wasn't able to get a solid grasp on it. $97,000 for an average price point of $720,000 for a home seems a little bit low to me. But nonetheless, let's talk about the vibe here in Miramar Beach. The overall vibe is upscale, active, and more of a resort style. If you've been to Miramar Beach before, you've seen the huge resorts that you can live on that have everything. It's got golf courses and its own bars and little shopping areas, and just you can kind of live inside of that resort in general, and that's what it's intended for. But, of course, because of that, everything's just a little bit pricier, including the HOAs. The beaches here in Miramar Beach are a little bit wider than some of our other beaches, and they're kept up very, very well. And honestly, if you're looking for true beach-style living, like that's the vibe you're going for, maybe you're retired and you're like, I just want to live the beach life, Miramar is probably going to be one of the better places for that. Now, the housing in Miramar Beach is all over the place. You can get a little bit of everything here, but there are a lot of short-term rentals. So whether you're looking for a condo or a beach house, there is a very good chance if you're living here full-time that you're going to have neighbors that are not full-time, or might even be weekly neighbors. The amenities here in Miramar Beach are outstanding. One of my favorite being the Silver Sands outlets. Like that's one of the places I go whenever I'm looking for a very specific item. Like I've been out there shopping for sunglasses. I can never find one that fits my face properly. But outside of that, there's got to be 150, maybe 200 different individual stores there, and they're the name brand stores. So you're going in there for Oakley, you're going in there for Nike, you're going in there for Reebok, etc. Then, of course, you've got lots of beachfront dining, but one of the biggest things that Miramar boasts about is their golf courses. They're extremely high rated and gorgeous. The schools here in Miramar are decent, but out of all the areas we've talked about so far, they're not that high on the list. They're still very strong. They're still have a lot of really good rankings, but they're not near as high as some of the other cities we've already mentioned. One of the biggest drawbacks of Miramar Beach is that during tourist season, it can get pretty crowded out there. As you can imagine, it's a bunch of resorts, lots of people coming in and out, and although the roads are fairly wide there, it still gets pretty busy as people are traveling to and from Destin, to and from 30A. You're kind of right there in the middle, so you're hitting a little bit of all of that traffic. So why is Miramar number 6 on our list? Well, I think it's a great spot to live in, but I definitely think there's some better ones out there. So if you're looking for a healthy mix of like tourism and residential, you want that beach resort style vibe, but you don't want to be in the heart of Destin, well, Miramar is a great choice. And for number 5 on our list, we're going to head as far west as we can, about an hour outside of Destin. So this is as far as I allowed them to do the search on. That is Gulf Breeze. Gulf Breeze has a median home price of about $418,000, which does seem a little bit accurate. It's a smaller populated area as well, but it is about an hour to Destin. So whenever I was prompting AI to help me with this list so that it was as unbiased as possible, I limited it to an hour. And depending on where you're at in Gulf Breeze, it will be an hour. But it could be a little bit less than that, about 50 minutes or so. One of the things that surprised me about this was the median household income seems awfully high for the area. I'm going to assume it's correct, but I don't actually know that. In fact, if I were guessing, I would think it would be closer to about 80 to 90,000, but I'm not the expert here. So, Gulf Breeze, what's the vibe? I would sum it up in 3 words: quaint, scenic, and safe. One of the best things about Gulf Breeze is although you are 60 minutes to Destin, you're 15 minutes from Pensacola, and you're in your backyard is Pensacola Beach. So you've got all the amenities over in Pensacola that you might not necessarily need what's in Destin, but it depends on the kind of vibe you're looking for. Pensacola's got a great nightlife scene just like Pensacola, so I'm not even sure if there's any reason to go to Destin at this point. And because it's right next to Pensacola, the commute into Pensacola, although it can get busy from time to time, is a great little option for somebody looking for some work in that area. So if you're not sure where you're going to be working when you're living down here, you're right next to a pretty big city. In fact, one of the biggest cities here on the Emerald Coast. The schools here in Gulf Breeze are very strong as well, and they're very family-centric, and the number of students per teacher is pretty low, which is a generally good indicator on how much one-on-one time your child's going to get, which then in turn will help them in the future. At least that's what I'm told. The outdoor life is great. It's centered a lot around boating, as you can imagine, but there's lots of biking trails and the Gulf Islands National Seashore as well, so you've got that entire part to go explore and enjoy. Different types of housing here in Gulf Breeze. It's going to hit everything, especially if you're considering Pensacola Beach as part of Gulf Breeze, which I personally do. I know it's not. I know it's technically a subset of Pensacola. When you're looking at the map, you've got Gulf Breeze, and then you've got like Pensacola Beach underneath Gulf Breeze. To me, it should be a Gulf Breeze asset. But nonetheless, my point here is you've got everything that you would have on that beach area, so condos and townhomes, and then you've also got all the single-family homes in Gulf Breeze proper. And then, of course, a few apartments here and there. So what's a big drawback of Gulf Breeze? Well, it's, as you can imagine, the traffic going into and out of Pensacola at certain peak times. It's going to be a little bit painful. So why did Gulf Breeze make number 5 on our list and not get a little bit better? Well, I think the community and the location is really great, but because the commute is a pretty key factor in this, I think that lowers it a little bit on our list. Before we jump into number 4, if you are enjoying this, and this is kind of information you're looking for here on the Emerald Coast, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ding that little bell. It's going to notify you of all the different videos we do. We do one video every single week at Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central. We launch it to try to help you guys gain a better understanding of the Emerald Coast. And if you guys ever have any questions, you can either comment it down below. I try to get to those personally. That's me actually replying in the comments there. But you can also reach out to us. All of our contact information will pop up right there. And I'll leave it up there for just a second as we move on to number 4 on our list. So number 4 is actually an area of 30A called Seagrove Beach. Now, this is actually where it gets a little bit funky to me because me personally, if I was making the list, I wouldn't have chosen some of the smaller 30A towns, which is what you're about to see here on a couple of these next ones, like Seagrove Beach, but they did. And I think it's really good because it kind of gives us a little different vibe on this channel, whereas I would have just said 30A because 30A in general has so many smaller beach towns that you can kind of get to and go explore, and they're so dependent on their vibe as to whether you're going to enjoy them or not. I kind of like that they put in these individual ones because it gives me a chance to talk about it where we don't normally talk about these smaller towns. So Seagrove Beach itself is a little bit difficult to pull the exact pricing, but we are going to throw it up here at $1.4 million. So this isn't for the faint of heart. This is, if you're looking for luxury, this is the sort of area you want to go into. Just like I mentioned on a couple of the other areas, I think the annual household income is probably off. It's hard for me to believe that a family that earns $114,000 is buying a $1.4 million home, but I could be wrong. And for all we know, this is just taking the actual income that they're making, and it's not including all the residuals. Maybe they've got a bunch of investments. I don't know how they calculate this, but it seems low to me. But let's get into Seagrove Beach. So the vibe here at Seagrove Beach is historic and laid-back luxury. Those are the 2 best things that I could think of for Seagrove. Some of the unique things about Seagrove is it's extremely walkable, so you can walk just about anywhere you want to go. They've got a lot of local boutiques. And lastly, they've got a couple of dune lakes, which are super rare and only limited to our area. In fact, I think there's only a few of these like dune lakes all across the country or the world. As I understand it, they are pretty rare. Now, one of the coolest things about Seagrove is the architecture in general. So the architecture here in Seagrove Beach is pretty cool. You are going to see some of the older Florida homes that have been built up over time, but you're also going to get some of the coastal craftsman-like homes too, which I think are pretty interesting. And as far as getting out in nature, you've got a lot of green spaces here in Seagrove, and then you've also got great biking to Seacrest and Watercolor. And of course, you've got the beach. Seagrove is primarily good for remote workers, retirees, and people looking for a second home, kind of a getaway whenever they'd like to, get away. Now, it's the community that really makes Seagrove. In fact, when we're talking about any of the towns on 38, I think it's the community and the vibe that separates them. Because as you've heard us say time and time again on this channel, they're all so completely different. So you could go from one to another. I mean, just Seagrove to Seacrest, completely different. From Seacrest to Watercolor, completely different. So just make note of that you want to make sure that you're coming down and visiting these little towns and not just going off of, what we're saying in a video. Definitely explore the area and make sure it's the vibe that you're looking for. Anyway, I got a little sidetracked on the community. Let's talk about that. It's very heavy with creative style personalities like artists, and then people that are health conscious and or trying to work on their health. You've lived your life, you've built a great business, you've done whatever, and now you're maybe flirting with retirement, maybe retired, and you're looking to get that health in order. That seems to be what a good portion of the community is. Now, it comes with its own drawbacks. Number one, limited schools here in Seagrove. And then the biggest one is the price point to get out here. It's gorgeous. It's stunning out there, but you are going to have to pay for that. So why is Seagrove Beach number 4 on our list? Well, it's stylish, but understated living with a nostalgic view. At least that's what AI gave me. For me personally, it would be ranking number 4 because it is gorgeous and it's got that health-focused lifestyle, but it's a little bit pricey to get into, and there's other beach towns that might fit your budget a little bit better. Now we move on to number 3 on our list, and it wouldn't be a list of great places to live near Destin without actually mentioning Destin. So you guessed it, number 3 on our list is Destin. You got a median home price here of about $625,000. That's including the single-family homes, townhomes, and condos. So keep that in mind that some of the condos, because they're waterfront, they skew that pricing just a little bit. You can definitely get in the heart of Destin for under $600,000. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is the population being 14,000. A lot of people think Destin is much bigger. That's because it goes from 14,000 to 100,000 overnight with all the tourism. So it feels more crowded because we have a lot more people there. So keep that in mind that this is a small, sleepy beach town that's accommodating a ton of tourism. So what's the vibe here in Destin? For those of you that have already visited, you already know what the vibe is. It's bustling, it's full of life, and it's a hub for tourism. The beaches here are, of course, just like most of the beaches here along the Emerald Coast. They're award-winning, they're stunning, they're amazing, they're beautiful, maybe unbiased, best beaches on the planet. And when it comes to activities, you've got lots of different things, but it's called the world's luckiest fishing village for a reason. That's because fishing is a big portion of it. We've got a very big fishing hub. That entire harbor, you'll see them bringing in all the fish. That's what they're actually cooking in the restaurants here in Destin. You can watch them pull it off. I remember when I was sitting at Harbor Docks one day, one of the first times I ever ate there, and I'm watching them pull fish right into the kitchen, just, taking care of them. They've already taken care of, skinned them, whatever they're doing, filleting them, and bringing them right into the kitchen for them to use later that day. And I think that's pretty stinking awesome. So as far as activities, you've got fishing, but you've got all the other things that happen on the water too. You can rent a jet ski, a pontoon boat, go out to Crab Island, go kayaking, paddleboarding. I mean, the list is endless when it comes to outdoor water activities. Now, scaling back a little bit, when it comes to housing, we already kind of talked about it. You've got a mix of everything. But on the north side of 98, that's where you're going to see most of the townhomes and single-family residences. You're not going to get these huge plots of land because it is landlocked, and they're trying to put the houses on there that make sense. But you do get a little bit bigger plots of land there than you do in some of our other cities, which is kind of cool, depending on the part of town, of course. Not every part of town is like that. But what's really cool about Destin is you've got sort of that north part of 98 right when you go into Destin, but then a little bit further down, you've got neighborhoods like Kelly Plantation or Regatta Bay. Just gated neighborhoods, beautiful golf courses, and a ton of amenities. So depending on what you're looking for and the vibe you're looking for, Destin might have you covered. Most of the employment here in Destin is going to be in the tourism industry, hospitality, and service industries in general. The family life here in Destin is probably as you would expect. It's solid, but it can feel a little bit busy for a day-to-day normal life for a family. These 3 are probably pretty obvious too, but Destin has 3 pretty big drawbacks or challenges that need to be overcome over the years. And that is the overall cost of living there, the seasonal congestion, and the traffic, which are all things that you can expect from a massive tourist hub. So why is Destin number 3? Well, it's excellent for everything when it comes to an active lifestyle. It also has nightlife, and it's got great access to just about everything. You're smack dab in the heart of the Emerald Coast, so you can pop over into any of these other towns we've already talked about and enjoy them pretty quickly. Number 2 on our list is another 30A town called Rosemary Beach. Now, as you can see with that price point right there, it is going to cost you a pretty penny to live here in Rosemary Beach. This isn't the sort of place that is home for the first-time home buyer, but you are going to get upscale luxury at a high level here. Let's talk about it. The vibe here in Rosemary Beach is number 1, exclusivity. Then it's luxury and elegance following right behind it. My favorite thing about Rosemary Beach, and I'll tell you something funny about it here in just a second, but it's the community design in general. It's a master plan community. They thought about the entire thing before they placed it. They've got these brick-laden streets and gaslit, gaslit sidewalks, and it gives it this very like romantic feel. Every time I'm going through there, I just imagine it's like this, I don't know, just the epitome of romance. It's what it feels like. Like, you're going to go in there, and if you're not already in love with somebody, you're going to fall in love with somebody there. Like, it is that romantic here in Rosemary Beach. And of course, the real estate here is extremely expensive in comparison to some of our other areas, but the quality of construction and the quality of how they built everything is not to be messed with. It's literally, bar none, the best in the area. One of the cool things here is the family appeal because it's generally gated, it's very walkable, it's a very safe area in general. It's very enticing to want to have a second home here or even a primary. And of course, Rosemary Beach is home to a lot of great boutique shopping as well as a phenomenal farmer's market. And it gets busy out there. And it's just right in the heart of Rosemary. It's beautiful. Even when you're driving through there, just be careful because people are walking through the streets. You got to really watch out for them. But an absolutely beautiful area when it comes to these sort of amenities. Oh, and I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about some of the art galleries in Rosemary Beach either. If you're an art lover, you'll have a good time checking out the different artists here in the area. But it does come with 2 pretty big drawbacks, one that we've mentioned multiple times, and that's the price to get in there. And a second drawback for some will be the exclusivity. Not everybody wants to be in a town where it feels exclusive to just the 200 or 300 people that live there, but for others, it's going to be a really big benefit, so you choose. So why did Rosemary Beach make number 2 and not number 1? Well, its unmatched charm and elegance and just overall beauty is just unparalleled. But it's got one big drawback, and that's the price to get in. Not everybody can afford to get into Rosemary Beach, so that's why I didn't make the number 1 slot. Now, for the number 1 slot on our list, it is one of my favorite 30A towns, Watercolor. Now, before I go into all the details and stuff, what I like about Watercolor is first, they've got this great central hub area where they do concerts and there's a bunch of food trucks out there. And it's just a great spot to sort of hang out. The second thing, and I'm not very aesthetically driven, but the second thing is it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. Everything is in watercolors. Big surprise. Like the color of every single building is a watercolor of some sort. And it's just, I don't know, it's so surreal being out there. It's so beautiful, just like a lot of the towns along 30A. So let's talk about the actual details. You'll see the price here, about $1.4 million to get into it. It might be a little bit skewed because it was a little bit difficult to pull this information because we don't have this as a subset in our multiple listing service. So I did my best with the information that I was able to provide. Now, the median household income definitely doesn't seem accurate for this, as I've mentioned before, and it's a short 38-minute or so drive to Destin. The overall vibe here in Watercolor is kind of upper tier luxury meets nature. The community here in Watercolor is great for families. It's very walkable. There's a lot of neighborhood pools and things like that. And then there's just that whole center hub area where there's always something going on. So it makes it great for families and even your 4-legged friends. Every time I go out there with my little pup, most of the restaurants there in that hub area, they'll come out with water for your dog if you're sitting outside, and they kind of make them feel very welcome, which I really like. And of course, there's outdoor appeal to Watercolor in general. You've got, a bunch of lakes, different trails and stuff to go on. You've got that biking trail into Seaside and walking or biking, what have you. So you've got lots of options. Anything on 30A is going to be very walkable. So I'm kind of beating that dead horse with it, but it is sort of one of the best things about the 30A area in general. Now, the schools are very high quality and very safe for the children, so that's a big bonus. And when it comes to housing, most of it's going to be kind of that high-end single-family homes. You're going to have a few of a little bit of everything, but it's going to be primarily those single-family homes on the high end. And of course, their little communities inside of there have a lot of amenities as well, as I mentioned with the pools and stuff earlier. So who's watercolor perfect for? Well, affluent families are going to need to have a little bit of affluence in order to get into that price point. It's also great for retirees, executives, and of course, people working from home is always a pretty good option. So why is watercolor number one on our list? Well, it's a great blend of beauty, functionality, and lifestyle here on the Emerald Coast, and sort of epitomizes exactly what the Emerald Coast is all about, right? You've got Destin with the great nightlife and lifestyle there, but then you've got kind of that slower pace here on 30A with that luxury feel. And let's be honest, it's just absolutely stunning out there. So let's go ahead and recap each one of these areas because this is a fairly long video and I want to give you guys just a little bite-sized nugget of each one. So in the number 10 slot, we have Navarre. It's peaceful, it's affordable, and it's ideal for those who want a quiet coastal town. Then we've got Fort Walton Beach coming in at number 9, and this is a mix of history and nightlife with easy access to the military bases. And in the number 8 slot, you've got Santa Rosa Beach. It's stylish, it's scenic, and it blends nature with upscale living. Number 7, we've got Niceville. The schools are top rated, they're safe, and it's got a suburban feel that's a little bit inland from the beach. And number 6, we have Miramar Beach. This is resort style living with lots of dining, lots of shopping, and lots of opportunities for Gulf views. Number 4, we've got Seagrove Beach, which is that old Florida charm meets relaxed, artistic beach lifestyle. Number 3, we've got Destin, which is lively, beachy, and just packed with things to do day or night. And number 2, we've got Rosemary Beach, which is elegant, it's walkable, and it's architecturally stunning, but pricey. And in the number 1 slot, we have Watercolor, which is the perfect blend of luxury, nature, and family-friendly coastal living. Listen, everybody's needs are going to be a little bit different. So there is a wide variety of different things on this list, different types of towns. And I'm hoping that now that you've watched this video, you've got a better understanding of the different types of vibes. This is why we're always saying on this channel, like every town is completely different. That's why we've really got to dig deep to figure out which of the areas is going to be best for you. One of my big nightmares is you guys call us to help you buy in your next area and you think you've got a pretty good understanding of the area and we don't dig enough to figure it out. And when you move, you find out, ooh, this isn't the one for me. I'm going to have to move in a couple of years. Yikes. I want you to find the right spot first. So if you guys are curious about moving to the Emerald Coast, all of our information will pop up on the screen. When you give us a call, what we'll do is we'll go through a buyer consultation process with you. It takes about 45 minutes or so, depending on how many questions you have. And we like to dive deep into exactly what you're looking for. We want to make sure that your compass is pointed in the right direction for exactly what you want. So don't hesitate to give us a call. You can call, text, email. You can even follow us on social, Facebook, Instagram, what have you, and just kind of watch us from afar until you are ready. Generally, what I tell people is about the 6-month mark is a pretty good time to call us, although there's no time that's too early. You can always reach out to us. Even if you're a year out, we get a lot of you guys too, like, hey, I'm debating between these 2 areas or what have you. That's perfectly fine too. Shoot us an email, call, text, however you want to get hold of us, and I'll see you guys next week at Tuesday at 4 p.m. Central. See ya.